guys, FSC, Fest Jack Speed and Custom Shop. Today we're going to be working on the 85 Honda Goldwing again. What we're going to do is we're going to replace all the brake fluid in the bike. There's a reason for that. I never knew this was a requirement, but when I bought my brand new Harley, one thing I read in an article about a couple years later was the necessity to replace the brake fluid approximately every 2 years. And I'll be honest with you, when it came to the automotive side, for me, I've never dealt with that. I've never replaced brake fluid like you change your oil or change your air filters, any of that. I've never done it. My father got the bike off of its original owner. I got it off my father. To my knowledge, the brake fluid that's in these are original. That sounds almost crazy, but again, I've never heard of brake fluid going bad. This bike requires .4. The average automotive use that I use here is .3. The .4 apparently is synthetic and is prone to moisture, which is what took out my Harley Davidson front brakes. Here's what happened there. The bike was approximately 4.5 years old and still had the original brake fluid. Now, that bike's a 2014. I never had to service the ABS on that bike. I never had to do any brake work on the bike yet. So it's still original. One day I noticed I had a trouble code show up on my speedometer. That bike is a Softail Deluxe. It has the big speedometer. It does not have the big fancy dash. It was just a big red light that tells you there's a fault code. But the bike ran fine, wasn't an issue. It wasn't until a while later, literally about a month, that I noticed that when I released my brake, the light stayed on. But the rear brake worked just fine. But the front brake, when you squeezed it and let go, the brake would release, but the light would stay on. Now, I looked up on other YouTube videos and they show how to ungum that and get it cleaned up. And I tried that. Didn't work. All I accomplished was taking stuff apart and made a mess. It was in the end, it was right before I took the road trip out to New Jersey on that bike. There's a video right here you'll see the thumbnail for. I'll put the link in the description to that video series. I took the bike to Vandervest Harley up in Green Bay, and I had them do a front master cylinder rebuild, a complete flush, bleed, and replaced all the brake fluid throughout the entire system. Problem never came back. So now I know, not the end of this year, but the end of next year, I have to flush and fill the brake fluid all over again. This bike gave me a little inkling that it had problems similar. Beginning of riding season last year, I had brought the bike out of storage, brought it here, got it running, drove it around a little bit, then I parked it outside. It sat out there for probably a few hours, but was in the freezing temperature. I went, opened up my door, and I went to push the bike inside. I didn't want to start it, and I couldn't push it. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? The brakes were binding. Not the front brake, the rear brake. It was stuck on. So I fired up the engine, used the engine to override the brake to get it inside my heated shop here. Let it sit overnight. Next morning, wheels around just fine. The problem was moisture in the brake system was seizing up the rear brakes. So apparently the Goldwing suffers from that same affliction as well. But this bike was never ridden in any cold weather. Honestly, it wasn't even ridden a lot. With only 40,600 miles on it, it's still a baby. It's 85, but it's really low miles. With that being said, today's video, we're going to replace the brake fluid on this bike. Stick with me and I'll show you how.
Took the drain out of the bottom of the master cylinder right here, and I'm holding it with my finger when he releases. So go ahead and press, release, press. Is there fluid in it?
Yes.
Press, release, press, release, press, release, press, release.
Press.
That is supposed to be hard.
Release. Press.
harder, yes.
Okay.
Press. Release. Press. Release.
There are drains on the bottom of these calipers. I don't know if you've seen on the back, but there's a drain on the very bottom right here. You need to pull it to be able to get all the fluid out. Just an Allen key. We've already cycled fluid through here. Go ahead and press, release, 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 press, release.
Ready when you are.
Press.
Press.
Release.
Release.
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 Press.
Press.
Release.
Release. Okay.
Press.
Press.
Release.
Release.
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 That's good firm now?
Yes.
Okay, good.
It's good fun.
Now we're going to bleed the clutch master cylinder as well. Same thing, getting rid of all the old fluid. Now here's the fun part. Matthew found the brake bleeder. It looks like a brake bleeder for the clutch, and I have no idea if I'll be able to show it to you on camera. It is quite a bit buried down in there. Matter of fact, stop. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move. I'm zooming in on it. Right there. That's the clutch brake bleeder. Down in there. Now pull the light away. Let me zoom out. All the way down in there.
What I'm doing is I don't have a hose on it. There's no way to get it. But I'm going to put some brake clean down on this to clean up the bike anyway. I'm trying real hard to get you guys this shot if you've seen how I'm looking.
I literally have Matt up here working the handle and me down here, my arm in the one little spot that I can get it at.
Push. Release. Push. Release. Push. Release. Push. Release. Push. Release. Push.
Alright.
Release.
Neutral.
Fill it up.
We were short spaced on time yesterday, so I'm finishing the bike up today. You saw how much of a pain in the neck it was to get to that bleeder valve on the bottom of the engine there for the clutch. I just didn't see how I was going to swing that wrench back and forth underneath there and grab the clutch handle all the same time. I guess maybe you could, but you'd be blind. You wouldn't be able to actually see what you're doing. And you saw how hard it is to see any fluid coming out of there. And yeah, I did it dirty. I didn't put a hose on it, but I sprayed a bunch of brake clean on the bottom of the engine, got it all cleaned up the floor real nicely. So now all I got to do is put the Tupperware back on. That won't take but a couple of minutes here real quick. And then we're going to get ahead. We're going to throw the GoPro on the bike. Let's go take it for a ride.